this ordinance will remain in force, and with that, the executive order issued by the Yunus regime will remain in force. However, because the political activities of the Awami League were banned by an executive order, similarly, another executive order can be issued to override that or cancel that. The approval of the ordinance and its transformation into a law does not stop the BNP government from withdrawing the ban on Awami League's political activities. So this is almost like the BNP is giving itself some tool for negotiation with the Awami League. It's a kind of having some leverage over the Awami League. By passing this law, they're gaining a leverage. Of course, the danger is that this law can be used against them as well in the future. So there is a pending case against the Awami League as a party. So if the BNP government goes ahead with that case and prosecutes it to the fullest in the way they have been prosecuting the previous cases, and the Awami League as a party is held accountable for crimes against humanity, then the party itself could be banned. The Jamaat-e-Islami and NCP, which form the opposition bench in the parliament, they are dead against any step to bring the Awami League back. Dead against. In fact, they are carrying the Yunus regime's brief in parliament. This was an extraordinary situation, extraordinary election. So the next election would be a lot different from the previous election. So BNP is calculating that by not allowing Awami League to return, they might gain those Awami League voters permanently in their camp. Now, of course, that's a very, very risky strategy. See, the timing of the ordinance being turned into law has nothing to do with Khalil Rahman's visit to India tomorrow, because this is the whole bunch of ordinances that Yunus promulgated, 133 of them. All of them have to be passed by Parliament by April the 11th, or they will lapse. So the Parliament had to decide which ones to retain, which ones to lapse, which ones to repeal, etc. So they formed a committee, and the committee has gave its report a couple of days ago. And
their priorities, kind of.
Yeah, they chose to pass 98 of them and amend 15 of them, including the one which banned Awami League activities, and allowed 16 to lapse and 4 to be repealed altogether. It all depends on India, and it seems to me, I mean, you are in a better position to talk, but from what I'm sitting, it seems to me that India is prepared to give a lot of leeway to Tariq Rahman. I always say to my friends that Bangladeshis will always remain Bengali, but Bengalis in West Bengal are Indian first. Keep this in mind. They're Bengalis and they're proud of their Bengali heritage, but they're Indian first. And Bangladeshis are Bengalis, but they will be Bangladeshi first. So that they're divided into two nation states, and that's how they have to see their relationship. The culture, the Epar Bangla, Opar Bangla narrative is very, very old, and it died with Rabindranath and all that.
Hi, welcome to Podcast with Pratim. I have with me Mr. Sabir Mustafa, former head of editor of BBC Bangla. You don't need the introduction. You have seen him a couple of times. Mr. Mustafa, day before we saw a news that the Tariq Rahman government in Bangladesh would be converting the ordinance, which was supposed to lapse without the parliamentary approval. So they will convert it into an act leading to a permanent ban on Awami League. I mean, that is the basic news item that was there. So you can explain us what is the legal situation.
Okay, the legal situation is that it's not going to lead to a permanent ban on the Awami League. This ordinance was promulgated by the Yunus government to give them the power to ban the Awami League's activities, not the party itself. Only their activities are banned, and that this was done through an executive order. Now, at the time, BNP had said that they didn't support the banning of any political activity through executive order. They would prefer for it to go through the courts and a legal judgment against any party before any action was taken. After election, told Reuters news agency that if Hasina's children were to come back to politics, it would be up to the people to decide whether they should come back or not. So he was not talking about an executive order ban on Hasina's children coming back to joining politics. So this decision by the BNP's parliamentary party to kind of convert the Yunus ordinance into an act of parliament seems a little hypocritical because this goes against their stated position before the election and immediately after the election. So what this basically means is that this ordinance will remain in force, and with that, the executive order issued by the Yunus regime will remain in force. However, because the political activities of the Awami League were banned by an executive order, similarly, another executive order can be issued to override that or cancel that. The approval of the ordinance and its transformation into a law does not stop the BNP government from withdrawing the ban on Awami League's political activities. So this is almost like the BNP is giving itself some tool for negotiation with the Awami League. It's a kind of having some leverage over the Awami League. By passing this law, they're gaining a leverage. Of course, the danger is that this law can be used against them as well in the future. And I'm sure they were aware of it. But that is not the only danger for the Awami League. There is a court case in front of the International Crimes Tribunal, which alleges crimes against humanity against Awami League, the party. You may remember the same tribunal convicted Sheikh Hasina and some other people on charges of crimes against humanity and gave them the death sentence. So there is a pending case against the Awami League as a party. So if the BNP government goes ahead with that case and prosecutes it to the fullest in the way they have been prosecuting the previous cases, and the Awami League as a party is held accountable for crimes against humanity, then the party itself could be banned. So there is another stage coming in the legal process, which could see the Awami League as a party being banned altogether. So it hasn't started yet, and we don't know if the BNP government will pursue this case. But again, it's another tool in the BNP's pocket as a leverage against the Awami League.
Right. Now, I'm just thinking aloud. If BNP had really believed in their statement, I mean, if Mr. Tarique Rahman really believed in his statement, which he made to an interview from London, that he doesn't believe in the politics of banning.
Mm-hmm.
So had he really believed in that, what would be the purpose of prolonging the ban instead of allowing it to die a natural death?
Well, I think the BNP is calculating on two things. Firstly, the Jamaat-e-Islami and NCP, which form the opposition bench in the parliament, they are dead against any step to bring the Awami League back. Dead against. In fact, they are carrying the Yunus regime's brief in parliament. They're not really acting as an opposition bloc. They're more acting as Dr. Yunus's representative in parliament, Jamaat-e-Islami and NCP. And so Tarique Rahman knows that if this ordinance was allowed to lapse, the BNP would be accused of a conspiracy to bring the fallen Awami League back to politics. So Tarique Rahman may be kind of calculating that the time is not right for that. It's too soon after the election, too soon after BNP came to power to allow the Awami League to come back, and then he will open up a new political front against Jamaat and NCP, which he cannot afford at this stage because he has other things to do. There will be other battles to fight in parliament regarding other ordinances passed by the Yunus regime, regarding the July Charter, which is a whole host of proposals for constitutional amendments, some of which BNP will try not to enact. So there are other battles to fight. So Tarique Rahman is probably thinking that this is not the time. Whereas if he allows the amendment to be turned into law, it still leaves him with an opportunity to bring the Awami League back by withdrawing the executive order which banned their activities in the first place. it doesn't, the law does not prevent him from doing that. What the law basically does is keeps the ban in place. So the law will come into force and the Awami League will remain banned until the BNP government decides to withdraw the executive order. Awami League has not been banned by a court of law. There hasn't been any trial yet. So it's an executive order, which the government can withdraw anytime it chooses. But it gives them a leeway, a kind of a leverage, as I said. If there is any negotiations behind the scene with the Awami League, how they return, when they return, etc., then this is a leverage that the BNP would like to have. So that is one kind of calculation. But there may be a bigger calculation for the BNP. The last election, in February 12 election, actually showed that the Awami League still has a huge network of voters, a vote bank that will remain the Awami League vote bank for a long, long time. And the BNP benefited from that vote bank because in every constituency, the BNP candidates went out of the way to woo the Awami League voters by saying that if you don't vote for me, the Jamaat-e-Islami will come to power, which will be even worse. Jamaat-e-Islami also tried to woo Awami League voters by saying all the repressive cases and arrests that you have seen in the last 18 months were done by BNP, not by us. So
Right.
we are a safer party for you. But obviously, the Awami League voters, they are more inspired by the memory of Sheikh Mujib, the memory of the 1971 Liberation War. They have an ideological affinity with the Awami League. So they would much prefer a BNP to the Jamaat-e-Islami. So the BNP knows this. Now, the BNP may be calculating that if the Awami League came back to politics, then all these voters would shift back to the Awami League and they would lose their dominant position. I mean, they polled more than 50% vote in the absence of the Awami League. And they would go back. If the Awami League came back, BNP would probably go back to 30, 32%. So BNP may be
If at
thinking,
all, because in the meantime, Jamaat has also become stronger. So as presumably they have withdrawn some of the votes from BNP.
yeah, a lot of, and also there are new voters, new young voters. Now, these young voters or new voters may have shifted to Jamaat in the expectation that, there was a big talk that we've seen Awami League, how corrupt they are. We've seen the BNP, how corrupt they are. But
I mean,
Jamaat,
it
you know,
was such a tectonic shift that we have seen certain characters who were known as ardently, vehemently anti-Jamaat,
yeah.
like one a freedom fighter. Okay, so we have seen them joining Jamaat or supporting Jamaat.
Oh, you're talking about Major Akhtaruzzman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Major Akhtaruzzman is a bit of a, kind of character. He is a bit of an eccentric character in the political arena. So his joining Jamaat was a bit of a shock to some, but a lot of people thought it was well in keeping with his character. He liked to shock people.
Even
So,
I think Captain Oli, or what is his name?
oh yeah, Colonel Oli
Colin
Ahmed.
Oli.
Yeah. So he didn't join Jamaat, but he aligned himself, his party with Jamaat, and he's nowhere now. He's, he's been voted back into the oblivion where he belonged. But what I'm saying is that a lot of young people, new voters, may have felt that Jamaat would provide a better alternative to the big parties. But they'll soon find out this was an extraordinary situation, extraordinary election. So the next election would be a lot different from the previous election. So BNP is calculating that by not allowing Awami League to return, they might gain those Awami League voters permanently in their camp. Now, of course, that's a very, very risky strategy. Because if the BNP fails in its governance of the country, and if the BNP continues with the Yunus regime's strategy of attacking the legacy of Sheikh Mujib, the legacy of the 1971 war, because the two are so interlinked, you cannot talk about 1971 without talking about Sheikh Mujib, which BNP is trying to do now, but they will find it more and more difficult to sustain in the future. At that point, where do these people go? These people will not stay with BNP. And if they abstain, Jamaat will gain an upper hand. So BNP is taking a big risk politically if their strategy is to have a permanent long-term ban on the Awami League. We don't know yet. We'll know when the case in the tribunal is up for trial. If the BNP goes ahead with the case, if the BNP pushes for a conviction, then we'll know that BNP has bitten the bullet and gone for a future without the Awami League, and that will be a very, very big risk for them.
Okay. Uh, what you said is actually goes with the basic concern that at least over India, many people in position had on BNP is that it is character is still unknown. You know, Jamaat has a character, or this one has a character, but its character is unknown. It can be very risky. And unfortunately, I think BNP has a track record of failing on its promises. So, so together, now, why do you think, or what do you think? Because I understand there were certain promises that they made to Delhi, and I mean, the basic concern is that to let things be back over there. The Awami people are going back. If some people are being tried, it's okay. I'm not talking about Sheikh Hasina, but about the rest majorly, and about the that Awami League is back into politics. Now, is there any significance, or do you think that it is still, it is on in manageable levels that this was done, or the ICT thing is continuing till by the time the foreign minister will be visiting India, and they are seeking desperately on oil supplies and couple of things that I understand, including I hear not very clear, but there can be on financial support and etc.
Yeah. See, the timing of the ordinance being turned into law has nothing to do with Khalil Rahman's visit to India tomorrow, because this is the whole bunch of ordinances that Yunus promulgated, 133 of them.
33.
All of them have to be passed by Parliament by April the 11th, or they will lapse. So the Parliament had to decide which ones to retain, which ones to lapse, which ones to repeal, etc. So they formed a committee, and the committee has given its or gave its report a couple of days ago, and
Set their priorities, kind of.
they chose to pass 98 of them and amend 15 of them, including the one which banned Army League activities, and allowed 16 to lapse and 4 to be repealed altogether. So they have to make a decision on that soon, because all these bills will have to be placed before Parliament. These 16 amendments, which will be kind of amended, will be placed before the Parliament in an amended form, including the anti-terrorism ordinance, which banned the Awami League's activities. So they have to work on those to insert the amendments and then have them passed before April 11. So there is a time constraint on the government.
Right,
So it's not a message to India. This
right.
the Awami League thing is not a message to India. It had to happen in this way.
Okay, okay. The risk is that, but how long can they take on these things? I understand that they have constraints, they have domestic issues, this Jamaat they have to handle, but there are also other issues. The Gulf has come onto them. So wherever there was dependence on India, or India was ready to work with Bangladesh, but how long, how much time it can buy, you think?
I think it all depends on India, and it seems to me. I mean, you are in a better position to talk, but from what I'm sitting, it seems to me that India is prepared to give a lot of leeway to Tariq Rahman, because India is very keen to re-establish relationship with Bangladesh, and the Indian High Commissioner in Dhaka, Pranay Kumar, met Tariq Rahman today, and the readout from the Indian High Commission only spoke of collaboration on various economic and social development issues, including financial and energy. It did not speak about any political issue or anything to do with Awami League or Hasina. Obviously, these negotiations or discussions will happen in the background.
Of
It will
course.
never happen in front of cameras or
But
briefed
what
to
was
journalists.
significant is that the moment he came out, Prime Minister's advisor gave a briefing to the media that things will not go back to the relation will not go back to the same as it was with Hasina's.
Yeah, I mean,
So
this is something the
the
BNP
rider
has to.
was unexpected. I mean, you spoke, you take it forward wherever you like, but why are you giving that rider?
It's the advisor, Humayun Kabir, you're referring to, I
Right.
presume. Well, he has been a very it's like the good cop, bad cop thing. Khalil Rahman will be the good cop. And Humayun Kubi is the bad cop. He will always say things that are meant for the gallery. So he's speaking to his domestic constituency that, look, we'll be friendly with India, but we'll not go back to the Hasina days when Bangladesh had become
Oh,
a
that
virtual,
Golami Chukti, quote
yeah,
unquote,
virtual colony of
narrative.
India, because that's the narrative that Hasina had turned Bangladesh into a virtual colony of India, and we're not going back to that. So that narrative is fine. If you think that Bangladesh was, too much, too close to India, that it lost its sovereignty, then you want to step back from that. You want to regain your sovereignty, but maintain a good and friendly and close relationship with India. So that will be welcomed in Bangladesh, not only by the BNP's own rank and file, but politics watchers and analysts all around. That yes, we want a mutually respectful relationship with India, and
My whole presumption is, and I hope the government will do, Indian government will do, I think the narrative of friendship must change. The relationship should henceforth be more transactional.
yeah, and if you transactional, but also with India, I mean, it's not just transactional. There has to be a lot of political and cultural kind of a give and take because India is not only Bangladesh's neighbor, but it shares a long history, cultural and historical
But that is
linkage.
exactly our burden.
Yeah. Yes,
So
that that is
I
a
am one person who has been, kind of advising or always trying to advise that dissociate.
yeah, but it is very difficult. Now, of course, I always say to my friends that Bangladeshis will always remain Bengali, but Bengalis in West Bengal are Indian first.
Hmm.
Keep this in mind. They're Bengalis and they're proud of their Bengali heritage, but they're Indian first. And Bangladeshis are Bengalis, but they will be Bangladeshi first. So that they're divided into two nation states, and that's how they have to see their relationship. The culture, the Epar Bangla, Opar Bangla narrative is very, very old, and it died with Rabindranath and all that.
It becomes a serious hazard at times in dealing with things.
Yeah, so
I mean,
transactional and the give and take. Now, Bangladesh has on security, of course, as Hasina never stopped saying that she gave India so much that they'll never forget me. That's what Hasina publicly said
and we don't forget her.
yeah. So this is on security and other things and connectivity. So India will want to restore that kind of relationship, but make sure that Bangladesh will want to ensure that the people don't perceive that as being India having an undue influence over Bangladesh. So Tariq Rahman has to balance it and walk a tightrope on relationship with India, because there are a lot of people are watching him and waiting for him to fall off that tightrope. So
So,
he'll take good care, or he'll need
right.
to take good care.
So you are, and I think you have no other option, keeping faith on Tariq Rahman that he is trying to restore things. Uh, uh, he wouldn't fall into, because we are living in a very kind of undecided stuff where things are gray, is that whether Tariq Rahman is carrying Yunus's agenda or whether Tariq Rahman is correcting things from away from, Yunus's agenda. So this is the basic problem that we are running, that we are not clear that what he is up to. So,
I don't think he's carrying Yunus's agenda. He's carrying his own agenda. But on the question of Hasina and Awami League, he will drive a hard bargain with India. I think he will tell India that, look, can we park this on the side? We have relationship between the two countries to build. We park Hasina and Awami League issue on the side because that must not be allowed to complicate our
but
relationship.
that will not be acceptable to India. Should not be.
Should not be, but I think India has. It seems to me that India wants to go ahead, and any negotiation or discussion about Hasina and Awami League will be in the background, given to people who will not come before the press and give daily briefings on what they're talking about, and maybe it is something. Tariq
India will
Rahman will be
apparently
patient.
try to keep itself dissociates, but it will allow things to happen in the background.
Yeah, I
That's
think I think that's the way it will have to be. Whether any background discussion is taking place or not, I don't know. But then I'm not supposed to know that if it's happening in the background.